How's everyone doing this afternoon? That's whack. How's everyone doing this afternoon? So, I want to thank you all for coming out to the 6th annual Y.O.U.th Summit. 6, that's like 6. That's big time. That's big. How many of us have been a part of the Y.O.U.th Summit every year? Like all 6 years? 5 years? 4? Keep your hands up, because I want to see how many people have supported. So 5 years? 4 years? 3? 2? It's your first year. Nice, nice. See, new people are always good, because that means you're doing something, and people are hearing about it. So I want to thank you all. My name is Imani Muhammad. I happen to get blessed with the credit of this, but I certainly don't want to take the credit of the Y.O.U.th Summit. Everyone in here, in this room, have helped bring this about. I certainly have to give a shout out to the Portland State students over here, the freshman class, who have held it down. Thanks to Y.O.U.th Trinidad, the professor here. And, I just certainly want to just, thank you all. It's a small crowd right now, but I know a lot of people drop in throughout the day. It's a long day. We will feed you. There'll be water, there'll be fruit and water and pizza, of course. So don't feel like you're going to fall out. If you feel like you're going to fall out, come in here, get some fruit juice, get a hug, and then get back into the workshops. But I just want to thank you all. As you can see, we have a lot of vendors, and they've certainly brought a lot of material, so make sure that you support the vendors. Some of them are merchant vendors, so support. We want to make sure we recycle the dollar. We had a wonderful presentation that we can't do right now because my sidekick has a lot of things going on this morning. Life happens. And so we're just going to keep it pushing and move forward. I want to mention, again, with Y.O.U.th Trinidad, Professor Y.O.U.th Trinidad right here. Her and I have been working, yes, clap it up, clap it up. Her and I have been working throughout this whole year leading up to the Y.O.U.th Summit with the Cradle to the Career initiative. We've been working with youth doing focus groups and really trying to look at what makes education successful, what makes the student successful, and how do we allow students to really branch out and be who they are outside of the four walls. And so we've been working on a nice presentation that eventually, I'm sure by the end of today, we'll be able to have it up here and present it to you all. But we learned a lot from our focus groups in terms of what students and even your children really feel are stressors in their lives. And you may be surprised by a lot of the things that they feel that they're experiencing, and you may not think that they're feeling that. A lot of times, some of the youth had brought up just about they feel like they have to take care of the family. And these were coming from like 16 and 15-year-olds, but they feel like they have to kind of be grown. And so, you have a child like that goes into the school system, and as a teacher, we're saying, read your book. You need to do your homework. But they feel the pressures of adults. And so they're feeling like they have to go out and work and take care of the family because maybe it's a single-parent home or something like that. So there's a lot of things that have distracted our youth today. And that's why we have a dropout rate that's really high. And so the theme of this year, being the miseducation of our youth, certainly has its roots in Carter G. Woodson's book. Many of us have probably read the book, seen the book, heard about it, or you might have been more recent introduced to that theme with Lauryn Hill's record, Miseducation. And then you might have just felt like you've been miseducated. But at the end of the day, we realize that when we look at statistics, whether it's black youth, whether it's white, whatever ethnic background, the youth are not staying in school. And so we wanted to address it from the standpoint of bringing a consciousness and a knowledge that will actually open your minds and allow youth to really experience something that they're not getting at the Portland Public Schools. I'm not here to bash, but I gotta call it like I see it. So Portland Public Schools, even private schools, I went to St. Mary's Academy, and it was a blessing, but at the same time, there was a limitation. They don't really teach you to be an entrepreneur, per se. They teach you to go into higher education. And I'm not knocking college, but at the same time, what are you doing for yourself? what are you doing for your community, and what are you doing for your family? So I'm gonna stop talking because when you're pregnant, just by the way, men, you may not understand this, when you're pregnant, you know, the baby starts pushing on the diaphragm, you lose your breath, and you feel like you're gonna pass out, right? So I'm gonna let it go. Seriously. Right, he's excited, he was crumping last night. By the way, thank you for that, because last night, those of us that were at the Free Mix talent show, it was cracking, and if you missed it, you just missed it, I'm sorry. But we got down, wherever the Rip City Kings are. Josh, where you at? Right here, he held it down as a host. We just had a great time last night, so thank you all for coming out. It was the biggest crowd that we had last night, and I'm done. So, I'm gonna introduce our keynote address, our keynote speaker. You all know him from Y.O.U.th, and of course last year he was here at the Y.O.U.th Summit, so I'm gonna let him introduce himself so I can get some water. Mr. Jasiri X.
So what's the state of the black world when the hood raised black boys and black girls? Before you pass judgment on us? I might not need this. Hold on. Jasiri X gonna give you something to discuss. See, these streets will talk to you if you understand the language. Corners become famous. The more blood they stain with, the more murals painted when shells hit the pavement. We need 3 Jesuses to come and save this. We need Moses, Abraham, and David, all 12 disciples, to wash away the blood on that hand and held the rifle. Because life's so hard, he like whoever show their face tonight is getting robbed. When your home is a grave, the streets is a maze, and so many cats blaze, it's hard to see through the haze. And crime pays way more than minimum wage, and plus the legs from the gauge will take a swim in your ways, loosen your braids, leave bald spots in your fade, like you got your hair cut with some raggedy blades. The truth is, we no better off than when we were slaves. Malcolm X and Dr. King probably spinning their graves. It's gotta be the last days, cause I can't take no more. And these kids, they don't Harlem shake no more. They in the kitchen, cooking up cakes galore, kicking down doors like everybody faced the floor. And they got guns that will make you shake and contort. And they don't shoot ball, they shoot 38s for sport. Getting tried as adults when they can't sit the court. Getting sent to state prison, getting raped, oh Lord. What did we do to deserve this condition where we can't even function with our herb in our system? And every hit we take from a split blurs our vision, and the next day just means another murder victim in the summer. Just means we going to get dumber. Coroners putting bodies under covers. And then between sheets like the Isley brothers, he told his mother that he loved the hood, but the hood will never love you. See, what's the state of the black world when the hood raised black boys and black girls? Before you pass judgment on us, Jasiri X gonna give you something to discuss. So that was my introduction. And I think that's a good place to start when it comes to the miseducation of the youth, because I really wrote that because a lot of times what I saw from adults, the adult perspective of young people, what I saw was a lot of judgment, you know, and a lot of, you know, pull your pants up, you know, what's wrong with you, you know what I'm saying? Why you dress like that, why you act like that. But I really didn't see real mentorship, you know what I'm saying? Or understanding of youth culture, or understanding that, you know, the pressures on young people today, in my opinion, are greater than they've ever been. The materialism that young people face today, where it used to be maybe if you just needed one new pair of shoes to go to school. If you had one pair of Jordans, you was fly. Now you got to have Jordans for every outfit because they got to match. You know what I'm saying? And we're at a time economically where we're worse off than ever. So I wrote that song just coming from that place. And I'm from a place, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where if you don't know, somebody in Pittsburgh now? Oh, you been there? For those people that don't know, Pittsburgh was called America's most livable city. You know, that's what Forbes magazine named it. And the same year that they named it that, the census came out and said black community in Pittsburgh was the poorest black community in the country in the inner city. So, you know, we asked the question, well, who is it most livable for? And are you really kind of concerned about our community and what we tend to go through? So I would just say to parents, I think there's a need to really connect with the young people in a way where you really understand what they're going through and really understand these influences, especially in the media that have influenced young people, instead of saying, oh, that's rap, that's hip hop, you know, I don't want to hear it, get rid of it, I heard some profanity, turn that off. Instead of, I think it's a necessity to really begin to listen to it and understand where a lot of this hip hop music comes from. But I think the biggest thing to understand is that when you see hip hop on a mainstream level, what you're seeing is an art form that is corporate driven. It is driven by corporations. You don't, if it's on BET, that's Viacom. That not only owns BET, but owns MTV, Comedy Central, CBS. If you hear it on the radio, oftentimes it's Clear Channel. These are huge corporations. And I have a problem with what they allow on there and how they allow it to really shape our young people. And it's interesting, just on a quick side note, that when you talk about Clear Channel, one of the main owners of Clear Channel is a company called Bain Capital. And if you've been following the presidential race, Bain Capital is a company that was started by Mitt Romney, you know. So to me, I think there's an argument from our community to say, well, if you're this conservative corporation, Clear Channel, how come the majority of the songs that we hear directed towards our community are not conservative? How come the majority of them really promote really a death style and promote things like, you know, whether it's overt sexuality, whether it's crime, drugs. And so I want to show a song I did. I did a song called Real Gangsters, right? And y'all ever heard, I'm sure y'all heard of a song called BMF. Everybody heard that song? Somebody said no. It was a song by an artist named Rick Ross. Rick Ross did a song called BMF, Blowing Money Fast. I think I'm Big Meech. Oh, I was waiting for somebody to say something. Yo, I said Larry Hoover, whipping work. Hallelujah. You know, and like I said, these are songs that get played constantly, you know, in our community on the radio. He did another song recently. What was it? 9 piece? Yeah, something. That was it 9 piece? Was that what it was? Yeah. How'd the hook go, bro? Say the hook.
9 piece, straight 8 ball.
Straight 8 ball. MJG. I got 8 balls, right? And I mean, he's like, right, I'm selling coke right off the iPhone. You know what I mean? It's not even like, no, I mean, this is real. It's not even like coded language. It used to be like, we heard it was drug talk even way back in the day. I'm talking about old school music because I heard, they said Me and Mrs. Jones was about heroin use. But they coded it, you know what I'm saying? But then when you have somebody like, I'm selling coke right off the iPhone, like he's not even hiding it. And you know, you have an artist like Lil Wayne, you know, I left him dead in the living room, and that's all you hear playing on the radio, bang, bang, bang. And then you're a young person and you want to be popular, you want to be accepted, you know? You want to be cool. That's just the nature of you being young. And then you understand why sometimes we see our communities in the condition that it's in. It's not just that we're like prone to crime and prone to violence. A lot of times it's the influence that's being directed at us really by big corporations. And so when Rick Ross did BMF, I said, you know what? I don't think that was a real gangster. You know, I definitely don't think, I think Rick Ross is a great artist, but I mean, I think he's a good artist. He can rap. He picks good beats. I think he's a good businessman as far as how he handles his, Maybach Music Group. But he wasn't out there on the street hustling. I mean, that's been proven, dude. He was a corrections officer. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you had a job, great. But in order to be a corrections officer, you have to have a clean record. You can't go be a corrections officer and you have felonies or you have convictions. And so he was that, you know what I'm saying? They asked him, he had a song, I know the real Noriega. They said, do you know the real Noriega? No, I don't know the real Noriega. Some of my peoples know. Oh, but you didn't say that. So, he said he owed you 100 favors, But also, I looked and I said, well, Big Meech is doing life in prison. I'm saying, probably never getting out of prison. I'm saying, and Big Meech was Big Meech was the ones in his group, was the, I think it was the Black Mafia family in Atlanta that actually, I guess they're credited with inventing making it rain in the club. They had that much money, they invented it, just throwing money. But you know, he got caught, his brother got caught there doing life in prison. Larry Hoover. Now I'm originally from Chicago. You know what I'm saying? So I have a great deal of respect of Larry Hoover. In fact, especially when he tried to take the gangster disciples into growth and development and really tried to introduce not only consciousness to the movement, but also collective economics. And then also they even got involved in politics. But Larry Hoover's doing life in jail. He's never getting out. You know what I'm saying? Then, like I said, Rick Ross named his album Teflon Don. The Teflon Don is who? Anybody know who the Teflon Don is?
John Gotti.
John Gotti. John Gotti, the Teflon Don. Where John Gotti died? Where?
In prison.
In prison. So I was wondering, like, Rick Ross got stock on the prison system? I mean,
Right.
but I said, you know what? I saw some real gangsters. I saw a group of people that almost collapsed the whole economy of the United States. And they got written a check for, at first we thought was $800 billion. Which is, that's a lot, right? 800, but not million, billion, right? But then when they did the research and broke it down, they said actually what the banks got from the government was $7.7 trillion. Think about that. That's a bailout. And they didn't go to jail. You know, they got bonuses. You know, they just did a settlement. I think $25 billion, and that didn't even equal the bonuses that the banks gave themselves. So I said, man, these are some real gangsters. And so I want to show my video. Y'all don't mind if I show y'all? Yeah. And it's kind of, so this was actually a year before Occupy Wall Street, you know what I'm saying? So shout out to Occupy though.
Well, what about gangsters?
Now you call yourself a gangster. I am a gangster disciple.
Yeah, but you're not a good disciple of the real gangsters. Because the real gangsters have taken a world. And we hustling drugs on a corner and killing one another, but we are gangsters? That's punk stuff. Let me show you what gangster is. Watch this.
These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. Gangster means organized crime to exploit the poor or the blind, using fortified lies. Before you call them the word, think more than 5 times. He used to roll with the cops, man, he borderline swine. With a 360 deal, still a hoarder, the sign line. Like a child, still amazed at how quarters and dimes shine. Real gangsters make billions, making slaves of civilians, making slaves of your children, making slaves do their killings. Really, the game's brilliant, create the pain and the illness, then sell you the medicine that they claim will heal it. Real gangsters don't need guns to leave your brains on the ceiling. They teach you self-hatred and leave you chained by your feelings, almost insane from dealing with your everyday problems. They in every state, mobbing, doing heavyweight, robbing, intimidate, and Congress giving orders to the president. So all of them was selected before we elected them. These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. If you spent your whole paycheck and you ain't even saved yet, and you still in great debt, then are you still a slave? Yes, 800 billions in bailouts is what the bank gets. Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, throw up your gang sets. Money talks, but ebonics isn't his language. That's why any black man teaching economics is dangerous. Real gangsters are but 10%. Satan and his apprentices, banking businessmen discipline, raping, pillaging innocence. Master plans intricate, Africans witnessed it at the hands of the wickedest bastards and damn hypocrites. Scamming riches with cash derivatives on Wall Street and slash your benefits as your senators, cause they all meet to send soldiers to secure the Iraq border before BP and Halliburton, New Orleans at Blackwater. If your land got resources, you getting attacked for it, cause real gangsters run the world on the backs of the poorest.
These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. These are real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters. They not real gangsters.
To get at me, but I think like, and to me, so that's the important thing, especially if we're dealing with hip hop and we're dealing with young people. First of all, as adults, we have to make sure that we're not miseducated, because miseducated adults are going to create miseducated young people. But also and you know, in Pittsburgh, what we did was this: we started a new media academy. Because, like I said, I think the biggest influence on young people today is they're being really almost, they're constantly dealing with influences, media influences, that especially some older people didn't have to deal with. You know, I'm sure there's probably people here that remember when it was like, what, 4 or 5 channels on the TV? And that was it, you know what I'm saying? There was no other channels. You know, the phone was connected to the wall, and all it did was make calls. Like, that was it. You wasn't going to take a picture of one of them, you know? And so now you fast forward to now where you have, I mean, it's almost a guarantee. Right, the phone used to, you didn't even press a button. So you're talking about a time now where almost anybody that has a TV, you're dealing with over 100 channels. You know what I'm saying? And channels that, you know, I guess you can block the TV, but if you don't block the TV, I mean, you're dealing with images that are really very mature images that sometimes young people are coming across at a very early age. Then you have a computer that you can go on and, I mean, constantly go to all these different websites, whether it's World Star Hip Hop, Facebook, Twitter. So now you have more media influences coming on there. And then you have, you can write, some of y'all might be like, I'm bored with this dude, I'm gonna just get on my phone, right? And so you're constantly being bombarded. So I think that if we don't teach young people how to properly analyze media, then also how to properly use social media and social networking in a way that is advantageous to you. Because I don't know, I'm sure it's happening up here in Pittsburgh and other cities. I mean, people are getting killed over Facebook and Twitter. You know, beefs are starting online on Facebook or Twitter, and they're coming into real life, and people are getting shot at, beat up, and killed. But who is teaching young people how to properly use social networking or telling them that when you put a picture out online, it's there forever? It's not that. So when you put a picture up, and if it's you holding 2 guns, you know, and then you got 2 guns in your waistband, and and then you got a blunt in your mouth, that's going to remain forever. And you might have a time when you come out of that lifestyle and want a job or want to do something, and that picture will come back to haunt you. So in Pittsburgh, what we did was we started a new media academy. Myself, and I worked with a brother who, for those that are familiar with old school hip hop, he was a founding member of a rap group called X-Clan. He's the architect. All right, some X-Clan fans in the house. Yeah, so he's in Pittsburgh. So we started the new media academy, and we started for a couple of reasons. One, because like we saw, most of the media is corporate control, and when it comes down to especially me as a young black man, it means these corporations have determined that there's only a few images of us that they're going to accept. We either got to be super gangsters, you know, hardcore thug gangsters. I've been shot at a few times. Or we have to be very effeminized. And that's it. Those are the, so, you know, as a conscious hip hop artist, I was told, people not gonna, no, you ain't gonna sell. You might as well just, you know, you're not gonna sell. And this is actually why I started making videos on YouTube, because we wanted to show that there were people that wanted to hear music that's deeper than what is being put out. And over 1 million views later, you know, now we're over 1 million views. Now I have a record contract. Now I go all over the country as a conscious artist performing and doing stuff like that. So we made it possible, but for corporate media, that's the only image. And so we created the new media academy to teach young people how to create their own media. That's the beauty of the time we're in right now, is I didn't need to go through a record company. I can just make my song, go to the studio. I've got, you know, we got a Canon 7D, which is about $1,500. I taught myself how to edit videos. I got Sony Vegas. And whenever I would get stuck, I would just go on YouTube and be like, how do you do this? And it'd be some dude, you know, be like some 14-year-old, you know, walking me through the process. So I taught myself how to edit, and so we started creating our own videos. You can do the same thing. You don't even need a Canon 7D. If you have a decent enough phone, it probably shoots high definition video that you can take the video, go home, edit it, and so we formed this academy to do that, but then also to teach young people how to properly use social networking to basically benefit us. Do y'all remember on Twitter was a big thing called planking? Y'all remember that? And for those that don't know planking, like if you just lay down on something, it's gonna be coming on. So all these people are putting pictures out of them laying on stuff, you know what I'm saying? And it was planking. So a good friend of mine who's a rap artist named Y.O.U.th, who was part of a group called Y.O.U.th Teachers, he started a hashtag reading, where instead of taking pictures of you planking, take pictures of you reading the book. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we started that. So we had our media academy take pictures of themselves reading and send it to Y.O.U.th. So it wasn't for him to necessarily diss planking or diss anybody that took pictures like that. It was just to provide an alternative. You know what I'm saying? And through social networking, we have that ability and opportunity. And so, to me, that's, I think, the route we should take. Instead of, I would just encourage, you know, adults, instead of like just wholesale dissing youth culture or kind of looking at them and saying, I don't understand it, and walking away, I think you have an opportunity to really engage young people, learn about it, find out about it, but also provide alternatives. You know, if you're going to give your child a smartphone or they're on Facebook or Twitter, you should be engaged in that process, you know, but also or instead of putting this up as a stat, I just had one of my artists, you know, the young guys in my program, he just called me. This is right before I came up here. And he was like, he about to make a diss track on somebody. Yo, brother, I'm about to make this diss track on this another artist. I know the other artists too. And so I'm saying to him, well, as an artist, where is that going to get you artistically? You know, because you two artists in Pittsburgh that maybe people in Pittsburgh might be interested in that. But will people in Portland be interested in it? No. So, and how is that going to, and then as an artist, like where does that get you? And so I was encouraging the youth, like you don't have to say his name, but you can talk about maybe people like him. Or you can use that energy and that anger to write a better song that can get, you know, a further reach. And so, but to me, the reason I started mentoring artists in Pittsburgh is because I saw that a lot of times adults complain about where these artists or what these artists are talking about. But if we don't give them something else to rap about, how are they going to change? Like if we're not actively mentoring them, how are they going to change? So I think that's it. Am I done? Is my 10 minutes up? Well, I mean, so just like you said, being in Pittsburgh, you know, I started bringing, and I guess I have it. If you come to my workshop, you'll see it. But you know, early on, I was going into the high schools in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with the hip hop program. And one of the first students I encountered when I went into the high school was an artist named Y.O.U.th Khalifa. You know, at the time, y'all like Wiz fans? So at the time, I mean, and I love Wiz, but I've known Y.O.U.th Khalifa since he was 16 years old. And to me, one of the reasons why Y.O.U.th Khalifa is where he is today, as you know, one of the most successful new artists, and he didn't smoke weed back then, y'all. He didn't have no tattoos, you know. But Wiz was a straight A student. You know, when I met Wiz at 16, he got the name Wiz because he was just more mature for his age. So at 16, it was like I was talking to somebody that was my age, his level of maturity. You know what I'm saying? He got the name Khalifa. His grandfather was a member of the Nation of Islam, so he got the name Khalifa. That's an Arabic word that means leader. But when I met him at 16, he was already, in my opinion, a fully formed, mature hip hop artist. So it wasn't like I had to give him something to rap about. He was really like, Wiz is lyrical. Now, you know, to me, the songs he's putting out now, he's part of the industry. And now Wiz is the brand, and he's corporate driven. So, I mean, but I've heard Wiz get very lyrical. I brought a guy into school who was a freestyle battler who won all the battles around Pittsburgh, and Wiz destroyed this guy. Freestyle. Straight freestyle. So he is the real deal when it comes to a hip hop artist. But at 16, he knew he wanted to be a rap artist. Like when I met him, he wanted to be a professional rap artist, and not just somebody that has a daydream like, oh, I'm watching MTV, I want to be there. But he was actively involved in creating his career. So at 16, he had a job, and he was using the money for a job to pay for studio time so he could go in the studio and record songs. And he was in a studio called ID Labs, and it just so happened that the guy who owned ID Labs, one of his friends was working at the time for Def Jam under L.A. Reid. His name's Benji Greensburg. And they said, man, there's a guy here, Wiz Khalifa, he's really good. Benji comes back, they see Wiz, and they started Rostrum Records around Wiz Khalifa. But because he was somebody that invested in his talent, other people came and invested in him. And now, you know, you see where he is right now. So I would say that for any artist, if you're not willing to make an investment in yourself, then don't expect anybody else to make an investment in you.